Well, I tell you, you know what? I have to say she did a better job handling the mic than. Well, you know what? I don't want to clown our wonderful, thoughtful, and clearly intelligent, well versed president of the United States.
Yes.
He said some profound things today. You know, starting off with that the U.S. Supreme Court made an unconstitutional decision. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't sleep at Holiday Inn last night. But until today, whatever the Supreme Court said was constitutional was constitutional. Whatever the Supreme Court said was not constitutional was not constitutional. And if the Supreme Court said that an earlier court ruled something was constitutional and now it's not, then guess what? It no longer is constitutional. No one ever in the over 200 years of American history has ever said that a court which said that a previous court made a bad call or that the Constitution actually said something different. No one has ever said that that court did something that was unconstitutional. And I'm thinking even with regard to Dred Scott, the Dred Scott decision, that was the courts ruled that a black man in America, in the United States, had no rights that a white man was bound to respect. And this was, of course, before the passage of the 14th Amendment. This was back during the time when even a black free man was still not a citizen of the United States. He was just a black free man living in the United States. And then when that decision got overruled, much later, you know, when Dred Scott was no longer a constitutional decision by the direction of the U.S. Supreme Court, no one said anything either, you know, one way about Dred Scott decision or the other way about the decision that reversed it. And yet here we have now that a Supreme Court says that Roe versus Wade was flawed. Well, you know what? I've heard constitutional lawyers say that Roe versus Wade was flawed. Over the past 50 years, attorneys have been saying Roe versus Wade was flawed for a variety of reasons. One of which, the simplest, was it created a right. Not it recognized one, it created one.
Right. Well, see, here's the thing. Like I said, when we talked about it, when this leaked, about a month ago, maybe it's 2 months ago, we talked about it. Look, if you want abortion, again, vote for the people who are going to codify it into law, and it's their job to codify it into law. All this gets kicked back to the Supreme Court because the Democrats and the Republicans both have decided that they no longer want to do their jobs and govern. They don't want to pass laws because they're afraid of what it will do to them politically.
Yeah.
So they kick it to the Supreme Court, and then they say, you legislate. That is not the job of the Supreme Court.
No.
The Supreme Court should not be deciding whether we have abortion legalized in America. That is what our Congress is for. That's what they're supposed to do. They are supposed to legislate. And we've had 4 presidents: Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and now Joe Biden, all of whom could have made codifying Roe v. Wade into law a priority. They chose not to. Nancy Pelosi chose not to. In 2017, she said that the Democrats focus on abortion too much and that, maybe they should stop supporting it. Her and Jim Clyburn, they both are currently supporting an anti-abortion candidate named Henry Cuellar in Texas against a woman who is a progressive, who is pro-choice, and who supports gun control measures. Henry Cuellar doesn't support gun control measures either. So all this is a big show. It's a giant show. The Democrats have no intention on codifying Roe v. Wade in the law. They just use it to basically raise money and scare people into voting for them. And that's always been the issue. That's always been the issue that I've had with them. That's why I stopped voting for them, okay? Their issue is they are owned by their donors, controlled by the donor class, just like the Republicans are owned and controlled by the donor class. The difference is the Republicans at least say, look, we are the party of big business, the corporatocracy. We want the government to stay out of the way of big business as much as possible. The left, on the other, well, should I say liberals? I won't say the left because I'm the left. Liberals are liberals. Liberals, on the other hand, say, we don't support big business. We are for the working class. We support labor unions. We support, the gays and women and black people and all these people. But ultimately, if you look at who's filling their coffers, it's the same people who's filling the Republicans' coffers, and sometimes more. Joe Biden got more from Wall Street, 3 times as much from Wall Street as Donald Trump did in 2020. He told his donor base, Joe Biden did, that nothing would fundamentally change here in the United States of America. So again, I understand people are sort of held hostage by this idea that they're held captive by this idea of voting for the lesser of two evils. But I think when the two parties seem to be in collusion and they're both owned and controlled by the same people, there is no lesser evil. There's just evil. So so that's why I don't support either one. I feel very good about my decision for not voting for Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. I feel very good about that. Especially with gas about to be $6. Gas is going to go beyond $6 here in Indiana. I hope you guys know that. Prices are continuing to go up. This war in Ukraine probably isn't going to stop anytime soon. So that means that food prices are going to go up because Russia and Ukraine were responsible for, if I'm not mistaken, a quarter of the grain and wheat of the world's wheat and grain. Sub-Saharan African countries were compelled to stop growing their own wheat and grain in the 90s so that Europeans could grow the grain for them. And we saw that in Haiti too. And so here we are. So now they won't have anything. And food prices will be astronomical for the next 2 or 3 years. And so, it looks like things are set for President DeSantis.
Okay. All righty. Well, for me, I mean, at the end of the day, the Supreme Court decision, as it's written, puts the decision on abortion back in the hands of legislation.
Yep.
It doesn't strip women of their ability to obtain an abortion.
It does not.
It does not require women to remain in, if they live in a state where abortions are hard to obtain, it does not require that they stay in that state.
They do not have to.
It does not give any state the ability to prosecute someone who goes into another state to obtain an abortion any more than there is any legislative ability of one state to write you a ticket if you go at a speed limit that's legal where you're driving but's illegal in your home state. If you're driving in California and it's 75 and here in Indiana it's 55, guess what? You can't get a ticket from Indiana Department of Motor Vehicles for driving 75 in California. Right. And if the laws do change such that, okay, abortion is harder to obtain in Indiana and easy to obtain in Illinois, guess what? You can get on 94, drive across the border and get whatever you need done. But there's another issue about this. There's 2 issues, actually. One is the issue of how African American women are handled by the medical establishment. Obviously, we've got plenty of evidence that indicates black people as a whole are treated as if we have higher tolerances for pain.
Yep.
Are treated as if medicines that work for white people work for us equally well. No difference. In fact, here's an interesting story. As you know, I was out of town last week. Now, part of that time I was at school. I left my blood pressure medicine, Losartan. I left it at home from a previous trip to Indianapolis. And so when I get to Fort Wayne, I don't have my blood pressure medicine. Well, one of my classmates was a guy who was a foreign missionary. He worked in Africa, I believe in Nigeria. And I said, you know what, I'm going to have to drive back to Gary because I don't have my blood pressure medicine. He said, hold on, I've got some medicine, in my room. Now, normally I don't take other people's medicine.
Right.
He brings me these pills. He says, I said, well, I'm not sure. He says, no. These will work. In fact, let me tell you a story. He says, I got these pills from my doctor, where I'm deployed. And she said, I'm going to give you, because I did not have my blood pressure medicine. And so he talked to his doctor, and his doctor gave him these pills, Losartan. And she said, now, I'm giving you these pills, but I have to tell you that generally speaking, these pills don't work on white people. They work on Nigerians perfectly fine, but they don't work with white people. But this is all I have because, most of the time I'm seeing Nigerian people, not white people. So she gave him the pills. And sure enough, they did not work for him. So he gave them to me. He said, no, you can have them because they won't do me any good anyway. And so for that week, I took those pills, those Nigerian Losartan tablets. And they worked just like my American Losartan tablets.
Did they make you crave Jollof? Did you crave Jollof afterwards?
It's funny. I did want to try some something other than what I was being served.
Hey, that Jollof.
It's
that Jollof in you.
It's funny though, but we have all kinds of medical evidence, that they now know that there have been drug tests, drug trials, for medications that work just fine during the testing period because the tests only involved white people. And then when the medicines got into the field and they would give those same medications to blacks, the medicine didn't work. This has been an issue that has been known to the medical community for some time. So I can understand why black women might be really concerned about this because, okay, as Lanita said to me, a black woman goes in, with regard to a pregnancy, and they're treated as if they have a higher tolerance for pain. They are treated as if situations that are serious are not as serious. And so a black woman could be in a situation with a life-threatening pregnancy, and if she has the wrong doctor, she might be treated as if she doesn't have a life-threatening pregnancy. Right.
I agree.
And if that sort of thing, if that's the sort of thing we're dealing with, how do we solve that? Abortion, the right to have an abortion doesn't solve that problem. There's so many other things that are involved in this question with regard to reproductive health. Mm-hmm. Families, being able to raise the next generation, having enough people to pay into Social Security, having enough people in the country to work and not have to get immigrants to come in. The situation that they're dealing with in Europe now. So many things are connected to the issue of, even for example in China, which at one time had that one-child policy, and so parents were forced to abort children. Well, guess what they would do if they could only have one child? A lot of those parents chose to have boy children.
Right.
Well, what does that mean when you have a population that has not enough women of marital age?
Well, they're seeing it now. They're having a demographic crisis over there in China.
Yeah.
And their population is actually going to plummet in the middle of the 21st century.
Yeah. All of that, and now, as Lanita pointed out to me, that's an extreme situation. Yes, it is. But here's another extreme situation. The situation in Europe where the combination of low population, low birth numbers, ready access to abortion, has combined to create a scenario where they don't have enough people to do work. They don't have enough Europeans to do work. So they have to bring in immigrants. But those immigrants are not assimilating to Europe. And so now they've got all kinds of social issues there. And generally speaking, where Europe is, America goes.
Right. All right, folks, we got to go to a break. Our first break of this hour. Please give us a call, 219-885-1371. You want to talk about the Roe v. Wade situation or Cosby or racism in policing? We will be right back after these here on WLTH.